the Shannon Miller Show. Woo! It's Thursday at 4 p.m. and I'm going live today. It still will not let me go live for my actual event, so hopefully you guys will catch it here. And for those of you who do not know me, my name is Shannon Miller, and I've spoken on the phone all day, and I hope I don't lose my voice for this video. So, as I mentioned, my name is Shannon Miller. I'm actually a cleaning business owner here in the great state of Arizona, and have been so for over a decade. I'm also CEO of Clean Freaks University, where I teach other cleaning business owners how to run the back end of their business instead of being run over by their business. Congratulations to the latest students who graduated from the Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy. I'm so proud of you to think in yourselves and to think about the investment you have made in your business. And I look forward to working with you again in the future. Today's topic, I don't think I had any housekeeping, but today's topic is going to be what exactly is included in a regular maintenance cleaning. So I have printed out, and if you guys do not have your own, this is actually my basic contract that I give out for all regular maintenance cleanings. And it's 6 pages, it's pretty cut and dry. I send it over through DocuSign, and it has a detailed list of what is included in a regular maintenance cleaning, so that way we don't fall out of those boundaries. For example, we had one 2 weeks ago where they left dishes all over the place, and the poor cleaning tech got stuck cleaning all those dishes, not knowing that, and then the homeowner had said, you know, Shannon said. So make sure that people do not take advantage of you, and how you can do that is by setting clear expectations and boundaries with them. So I have the list here so that I don't forget. But regular maintenance cleaning is obviously it's our most popular cleaning. And in the kitchens, it's going to be, you know, we're going to wipe off, we're going to spot check the cabinets, right? We're going to clean out the inside and outside of the microwave. We will give a brief wipe to the underside of the microwave if it is over the stove. Some of the clients have actually been trained to pick up the grills, the cast iron detached pieces on the top of the stove, and they will put them in the dishwasher for us to help keep the grease down. Others don't. It depends on if you have a full professional chef size oven. Obviously those will not fit in a dishwasher, so that makes it really challenging. They have to be hand washed in the sink. So we'll wipe that off. We'll actually clean the stovetop. We'll check for fingerprints on the outside of the oven. We'll try to get all the nooks and crannies where the crumbs had fell between the counters. Some people actually have counter catchers to catch the crumbs, so it actually closes the gap. I'm sure you guys have seen those. And then we'll spot check the actual cabinets. So, and then we actually lift and wipe for the kitchen counter. We wipe off the appliances if they're sitting there. If you are lucky enough to clean my house right now, I have vegetables sitting on one counter, so they just have to lift the vegetables, wipe, and put them back. I hope that the 70% clutter rule does not apply to me, but you never know. So those are some of the things with the refrigerator. We actually wipe off the outside of the refrigerator. Obviously, if your homeowner has a lot of photos, depending on your relationship with them, you can either move those and put them back, or sometimes when I was cleaning, I would take liberties. So, and when I'm talking about liberties, I would actually put the magnets back the way I thought they should go instead of the way they were. That's just me. So, and then we actually open the doors to the refrigerator. We wipe off the inside of the refrigerator there, and then if there's any shelf, we wipe off there. And then we'll actually feel the handle on the refrigerator. So, and the reason for that is because when you're cooking over here at the oven, and then you're going back to the refrigerator, and you're opening the refrigerator each time thinking that you got everything and you didn't. So there's always going to be a sticky part right there on the handles. And then if it has a pull-out freezer, we wipe the top ledge, and then we get the handle there. Typically, if there's baseboards in the kitchen, we don't typically do them every time. If it's something that's really obvious, something like spaghetti sauce spilled, we'll give it a quick wipe. And then we vacuum and mop. That's the kitchen in a nutshell. If there's a window seal in the kitchen, we'll wipe off the window seal and clean the kitchen window. Not every kitchen window gets cleaned. If they have too much stuff there, I don't expect the cleaning techs to do that. We'll clean the backsplash if there is one. for their kitchen. And what we use basically is just a sponge and some Dawn dish soap, and we just kind of do a wax on, wax off, and that kind of helps maintain and keep the grease down. And then we'll dust the top of the refrigerator as necessary. Not all fridges have accessibility for that. So if they store a lot of things up there, or if it's got a crawl space like this, you could probably stick a Swiffer duster in there, but typically we wouldn't, you know, go out of our way to clean it. And then if they don't have a utility room sink, we actually will scrub the kitchen sink last. And the reason for that is because you don't want to clean the kitchen sink and then dump your mop water in the kitchen sink. There are some diehards out there, I know you guys are out there, and they won't dump dirty mop water into the sink, and there are a couple homeowners who would have a conniption fit. But for the most part, we do dump in the kitchen sink, and the reason for that is because the cleaning tech who dumps into the toilet also dumps the mop heads or the microfiber cloth that they're using down into the toilet. And we live in a really hill-based area, and lots of homes are on pumps. Well, a brand new pump can cost $9 grand. So we have just taught everyone to either, and if the homeowner is really persnickety and doesn't want that water in their sink, then they'll have to dump it outside, and I actually bill them extra for that. And then if they don't, and they don't have a utility room sink that's accessible, then we actually will just dump in the kitchen sink. Vacuuming the kitchen floor is preferred versus sweeping. It depends on where you are in your business, and lots of people don't like to carry an extra vacuum. So broom sweeping is totally fine. Just make sure you get all the nooks and crannies. And then flat mopping is best. I know there's a couple of you who like the spin mop. It's not my favorite mop. You have less complaints when you learn how to actually mop with a flat mop. Bathrooms. So the first thing I did when I was actually out cleaning is I would walk over to the princess tub, and 99% of all bathrooms here have a princess tub that never gets used. Occasionally you'll have tub girls. Once in a while you have a tub boy, but most of the time it's tub girls. And you can actually rub your hand on the side of the tub to see if it's been used. You just spray it with a liquid. Do not use a powdered cleanser unless absolutely necessary. And the reason for that is it takes time to rinse it out. And then if you have an acrylic tub, there are those really fancy, that they look like they're stone. Those are actually $7,000 to $10,000 to replace, and you don't want to be the person who scratched the acrylic tub. So just use a spray cleanser, Pure Evergreen, Scum Bomb, Scrubbing Bubbles. Any of those are really great to rinse, and then rinse it. And then we actually don't dry tubs. We'll look for hair and pick it up, and then we dry the top of the tub, and we'll dry the faucet off. We don't spend time drying tubs. It's just a waste of your effort, and that actually makes you faster in the bathroom. Chrome in the showers is usually made to sparkle, and what that means is we use Pure Evergreen or Scum Bum or whatever it is you choose to use, and that actually helps maintain and keep the hard water spots off. And then we clean the glass shower doors. Be sure to dry all shower doors. So we do actually squeegee the shower doors, and then if there's a couple spots, we'll spot dry it, but we don't spend all of our time drying showers anymore. We used to be hardcore and dry them. We don't do that anymore. We'll look for hair on the bottom. Obviously, we lift the shampoo bottle to make sure there's no soap ring or hair or red herring. Sometimes homeowners have too much free time on their hand. And then we'll clean any window sills and dust any shelves based on accessibility. So typically most people have a shelving unit over the toilet. There's always going to be toilet paper dust. So, and then if there's a toilet or a bidet, bidets are more popular on the East Coast versus the West Coast. I would say less than 1% of all of our clients over the years have had bidets. It's really great when there's a pandemic and there's no toilet paper, but we're past that. So cleaning bidet is highly recommended that you just take a rinsey cup if it's not used. If it's not used, it's like a urinal. So if it is used, you have to turn it on carefully because it does spray water straight up. And if you're not prepared for that, it could spray you in the face, and I don't even want to go in that direction and down that rabbit hole. You can do a triangle or a rose. I've seen some really cool toilet paper origami. Hi, I don't know who's there. Just talking to myself. It doesn't show me Facebook does all kinds of wonky things. Every time I come on here, it's changed. So yeah, you can either do a triangle or a rose, is the option we give. We actually will clean the counters, wipe and dust, and put everything back. And the reason why we're really persnickety about putting items back exactly in the bathroom, and the reason for that is because a lot of our clients are senior based and they take a lot of medication. So we don't want to, and most people don't look at labels when they're popping their pills. They will take it in the order that it's sitting. So always check to make sure, excuse me, allergies, that it's back in the order. And then if you're not sure, you can always ask the client. We actually fold all bathroom towels into thirds and we wipe off the actual towel rack. Hopefully I won't lose my voice. We'll clean the baseboards. The baseboards should always be cleaned in the bathrooms every single time. Typically, I've always suggested that baseboards are an additional $100 depending on the size of the home, because it's all hands and knees. There isn't a way to do baseboards that isn't hands and knees unless you're bending over and doing it, and that is even worse for your back. And then we vacuum sweep the floor, and then we mop the floor. We actually don't even put the bath mats back. I've had a couple people get really upset over that, and we just don't do it. Some people have 15 bath mats. I don't have time, if I was a cleaner, to go and put your bath mats back. I actually will shake them out or vacuum them. We'll roll them up and lay them on the shower, not the shower, the toilet, and the homeowner is responsible for putting those back. So I've just given you 3 time savers for the bathroom. Don't dry your sinks, your tubs, or your showers. Only dry the glass and the faucets. And don't put the carpets back in the bathroom unless they're really old and feeble, and then you can do that as a courtesy for them because you don't want them to fall. But for the most part, everybody's responsible for their own bath mats. It will shave 15 minutes off of your bathroom cleans every single time. And then with the bathroom sinks have to be dried, unfortunately. You can't get around it. It just always has to be dried because it's just a psychological thing with them. And you have to ensure that there's absolutely no hair. So vacuuming first, if you have a really hairy house, whether they're hairy humans or hairy pets, vacuum first, clean, and then vacuum one more time. So all of the hair that's floating around in the atmosphere that's settled, you can get it a second time. And then flat mop it, make sure you hit those baseboards. Bedrooms. We actually high dust the bedrooms each time that we come. We high dust the whole house actually when we arrive. So we'll do the top layer and then the bottom layer of the house because most houses are 2 or 3 layers. We'll make the bed. If you have more than one bed that needs to be made, please let us know and we will adjust your bill accordingly. So regular maintenance cleaning actually comes with 1 sheet change. So if they have 7 beds and 2 of them are bunk beds, you're charging $25 per bed. So that bunk bed is $50. So at least you're getting paid for your time, because sheet changes and beds can take an hour and 15 minutes. And then if you have a homeowner that has 27 pillows that have to go the right way, that's another 15 minutes going, which way does that pillow go again? And then you start to think about how much time they've wasted in their lives putting the pillows on, taking the pillows off, putting the pillows on, taking them off. So we won't go there. So those are the things that we do. We'll dust the baseboards as needed. So we'll just run the high duster along it and we'll dust the room. So depending on your skill level, it actually is a skill to learn how to dust with a feather duster. Some people will just take a wet microfiber. A lot of Norex fans out there will take their microfiber and work up the static, and then they're just using water and wiping, which is fine. Whatever makes you faster is the way I suggest. I like feather dusters once I learned how to use it correctly. When I first was like, I didn't know, because you go back and forth like this. That's not how you feather dust. You actually use the feather duster to collect, and then you tap. And then you go back and collect and tap. And then if they have all black furniture and you have the ceiling fan going, all that dust will settle when you walk back in there and you're like, I know I just dusted. So those are some of the items that get cleaned in the bedrooms. Vacuum or mop using appropriate products. And I can tell you there are still hardcore people who want you to vacuum and or mop underneath the bed if it's a hardwood floor surface. So make sure that you're looking underneath the bed to get all the dust bunnies. Super duper important. All living spaces and dining spaces, we high dust. We dust the whole room. We'll dust the baseboards. We'll check the door jambs and doors as needed because, you know, those are usually high traffic areas like the bathroom, so we're looking for fingerprints. We mop using a flat mop or other mopping system and with an appropriate product. Sometimes you will get a homeowner that wants you to use their product, which is fine. Just you can't guarantee results because it's not something you've learned. But that's why we always stick with the same chemicals. And using the least amount of chemicals is best for everybody. So entranceways, foyer, and hallways. Baseboards and entranceways, especially if you get into an entranceway from a garage, those baseboards should be hit every single time. It's a high traffic area. They come in and out of the house. People are shaking off leaves. It should always be an area that is actually wiped every single time. With dust room, just to let you know that when it comes to Ed Stasak, bless his little heart, I think he's 97. He actually was one of my first clients. He has art pieces in MoMA and the Museum of Hawaii and a couple other places. And those guys are getting up there in their years, but he has actual original pieces that are museum pieces. So when we did his house, we no longer do his house because he's 97. I used to have to teach people how to, you know, handle his artwork because it had to be dusted, but you couldn't touch the canvas. And sometimes we wouldn't even touch the part of the frame. So if it was something that was highly valuable, do not send an inexperienced person in there. And the reason why you go to a fine art museum and they have those bars there, it's to prevent you from tripping and falling, because when you fall, you put your hand out naturally. And who wants to be the person who ruined a piece of antiquity, right? I don't want to be the person who ruined antiquity. So it's important that you understand the difference between there's popular art that you can buy, and then there's fine art that actually should be in a museum. And he had so many pieces, they just didn't have room to store them. Bill Neverker is another person who does bronzes. When we did his house last winter, I actually helped out because one of the girls called out, and I think they had like 400 bronzes in his house. He's in his 80s now. He still actually makes pieces of bronze sculptures, and they're mostly Western, and he's super duper nice, and he has lots of stories to tell. But you have to be able to handle and have a knowledge base of what to do with bronzes. Like, you couldn't spray it with the product. You have to use a paintbrush. You'd never lift a bronze up and move it over. It's a no-no. Bronzes can be anywhere from $20,000 all the way up to $250,000 or even $1 million, depending on the production run, and it's the signature and the height of their career. I mean, it's all of these variables that are in fine art. Pieces of antiquity. We actually used to have a gentleman who had a clock, believe it or not, from the 17th century. Think about that. An actual clock that worked from the 17th century. And it wasn't a big clock, it was like a table clock. And he wound it with a key, and it was actually more accurate than cell phones. And because it was so old and it was irreplaceable, every once in a while he would move the clock over, and then the girl would actually wipe with a wet microfiber, and then he would push it back. I did not allow anyone to touch that clock because I just didn't want to be the person that ruined it, right? I also had another person who had a lot of Navajo art. She actually, not only did she collect it, she knew the artists who actually created it, so there were stories behind every single. And so you didn't want to ruin it, because if you got water on the rug, it would actually bleed through, and then it could bleed, the colors could bleed and blend, and it would ruin the whole rug. There were some rugs in her home that were like $200,000. And she had them tagged and cataloged in case there was an emergency, so they knew which ones to grab. Excuse me. So those are all examples of antiquities. If you're not comfortable and you're not sure, always be sure that you ask the homeowner. It's super duper important. So yes, dust the baseboards. Utility rooms, sunrooms, that's more of a West Coast thing. Once in a while you'll get a conservatory or a library that has an added on room on the East Coast. Those are always really cool. You can walk in, it's like a botanical garden, and then one room over to the side has books in it. They have a dehumidifier in there, so you have to be really careful and take some consideration into people's possessions so that you are not liable and hurting something on accident. Home offices will actually only feather dust desk areas that are cleaned off. So if we walk in and your office has got a whole bunch of projects going on it, we won't touch it. And the reason for that is because everyone has their own filing system as to how that's going to work for them. And I don't want a call at 5 a.m. in the morning telling me, hey, I can't find this piece of paper and you guys touched it last. I've had a couple of those phone calls, so we just don't touch them. We actually won't even dump the office trash. The homeowner is entirely responsible for dumping that and taking care of and managing that, because I legitimately have had like panicked phone calls at 4 in the morning. So home offices will only feather dust. Movie rooms, trophy rooms, and trophy rooms could be either what. It could be a trophy where they won a trophy because they did something spectacular, or it could be a trophy room because they hunt, right? There's those type of trophies, so there's different ways to handle both of those elements. Garages, exercise rooms, please call the office to discuss. I can think of 27 homes so far that I have been in personally in my decade of business that have a movie room. And one has, it can seat 24 people. So it's a really large movie room and it has multiple screens. We never clean the screens. But there's some special training involved with that. We talk about getting ready for cleaning. It says, please do not clean before we arrive, right? Nobody wants to walk into an already clean house. You're like looking for dirt. You're like, oh, I'm going to find dirt. And then you're not finding dirt and you're like, why am I here? Right? So make sure that those that they're actually picking up before you clean up. Picking up to clean, hi Sharona, how are you, is not part of a regular maintenance cleaning. Picking up to clean is an add-on service, so make sure that you are charging for that. Toothbrushes in bathrooms, we ask that all clients put their toothbrushes away. There is a study that has happened over time. You can look it up and Google it. It's if you leave your toothbrush out and your toilet isn't closed, there's actually atmospheric particles from your toilet when you flush that go into the atmosphere and then settle back down. Yes, I said that. That's going to land right on your toothbrush. So most people are trained to clean the bathroom starting with the toilet, right? Even though they're wearing gloves and they're touching only the bottom of your toothing, sometimes they're reaching into the toilet and they're not changing their gloves. And that happens. There's enough chemical in there, and you argue with me back and forth over which way is best. But most people start the bathroom at the toilet. Some people start at the sink. But this way, if you put your toothbrush away, we don't have to deal with any of that, right? Bed skirts is another problematic area. If you have a bed skirt, I'm not going to make my girls go underneath your bed and vacuum and mop because the bed skirts always get caught in the vacuum. It's just a pain in the butt, and then you have to lift the mattress up to put a new one on, or it tears. It becomes a whole thing. Flat screen TVs. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm giving you a lot of history today. When I first started, I was in business, I want to say a month, and I started to get helpers on. Well, I was at a gentleman's house, and this is when I was still cleaning, and the girl, the guy goes, hey, can you clean my flat screen TV? And she said, sure, no problem. Well, it was glass. It wasn't the special crystal stuff that it is now. And she wiped it off, and it cracked all the way across. Yes. And this is when they were like $3,000. This was like a decade ago. So I actually had to call my mom and borrow money because I had to have the money I wasn't going to file an insurance claim. So I had to borrow money from my mom. And I told the gentleman I'd have his TV for him by Friday, and I did. Thank you, Mom. And that's why we don't touch flat screen TVs. We'll actually touch the top if it's manageable, and we'll touch the base only. We do not touch flat screen. The homeowner is responsible. I don't want to be responsible for replacing it. And I was in Costco the other day, and there still are $3,000 TVs. So I guess it's just whatever the newest, latest, greatest things are. Electronic items. We will only lightly feather dust these items. There's a lot of reasons for that over the years. I've had to pay for various things because they said we broke it, even though I know it wasn't us. It's just cheaper to pay than have an insurance claim. So we actually will just feather dust it. So when you're feather dusting, remember you're grabbing the dust, you're grabbing with your feathers, so you're tapping, so all that stuff. And then you have to lift up the electronic equipment and get on the bottom part of it. And it doesn't have to be every time, but just when you notice a lot of accumulation, because it's static electricity. So static electricity attracts particles, right? It's just natural science. Just like cleaning is friction, right? Cleaning is various forms of friction with a lubricant. So whatever lubricant you choose to use, water, pure evergreen, whatever it is, that's your lubricant, right? And then there's the 70% clutter rule. If we come across an area that we have a couple of attorneys and they use their formal dining rooms as set up for case studies, we actually won't touch it. So if you come to an area that has 70% clutter, we actually will not even clean that area. We'll skip it and we'll say, it'll be noted, hey, just to let you know, we didn't clean the formal dining room table. You had tax documents there this time or whatever. As long as you let them know, it's usually not an issue. And that's pretty much it. And then we vacuum the floors and then vacuum and then mop the floors. I highly recommend that you learn how to flat mop. It is more labor intensive and a little more effort, but you will eliminate streaking. You will eliminate complaints. It'll just make your life easy. Do you guys have any question on what is included in a regular maintenance cleaning? I'm sorry, I keep fidgeting my papers. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope. No questions today. All right. Miss Tracy, you have any questions for me? I'm so glad it's Friday. And I'm so over the humidity that we have in Arizona. It's rained every day for like 35 or 36 days in a row. We normally don't get a monsoon that lasts consistently like that. So it's not as bad as in like Georgia, but it is humid here, and I didn't move to Arizona to be in the humidity. So it's been interesting for sure. All right, well, that's what's included in a regular maintenance cleaning. When you guys first start out, I suggest that you focus on a regular maintenance cleaning, top to bottom deluxe cleaning, and move out cleanings. When you get into post-construction cleaning, there's a whole learning curve. I've done 1,800 of them, and I've done various large projects with different stages, a rough, a clean, and a polish. What about the scrub mop thingy or the steam mop? If you actually have a client who wants you to use a steamer, I would charge extra for it because you still have to mop after with the flat mop to catch all the debris that the steamer did. And it's like having a facial. Excuse me. And it's more labor intensive. So I would not volunteer. I used to have like 15 steamers. And then the cleaning techs ruin them, they get dropped, and then the hard water ruins them because they're not using distilled water like they're supposed to. It really is labor intensive, and it's not my favorite thing. I think I still have one client who bought one of those Malie steamers. They're $2,200, and it's not really meant for a commercial person to come in and do it. So once you unplug it, it has to actually heat back up, even though it was just at the current temperature, and you just walk from one outlet to the other. So when the girl was learning how to do that house, we got an extension cord so she could move around most of the house. But it was really too labor intensive. She had puppies, if she was potty training, so the pee would whiff, and you're like, you know, how is everything? Oh yeah, it's great. I love it. You know what I mean? So I would try to stay away from steam mopping, and if you do decide to do it, I would offer it as an add-on service. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Well, I am done listening to myself talk. As I've mentioned, the next Structure, Scale, and Profit Cleaning Business Academy starts on September 7th. I think there's one more in November, but I cannot remember the date for the life of me today because all I've done is talk and I'm losing my voice. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I look forward to hearing all of your questions. Take care.